This is ADHD Rewired, episode number 12. This is the show designed to help those of us who have really good intentions and a slightly wandering attention. Whether you have ADHD and you want to learn more about it, or you are looking for ways to organize your time, your things, or the many details of life so you can get more done, this show is for you. My name is Eric Tivers. I'm a licensed clinical social worker, coach, and consultant. We know that starting can be the hardest part, so let's get started. But first, here's this.
Have you registered for the ADA conference? This is the only conference just for us adults with ADHD. Register using my affiliate link, adda.adhdrewired.com. That's adda.adhdrewired.com.
Hey everybody, I just want you to know that I have a bit of a cold today, which is kind of a good thing because I can then use my low, cool voice. I'm also playing around with a new app that I just got through Novation, and I'm putting together some beats on the fly. It's a pretty neat app. I can do all kinds of different things with it. So I'm just kind of messing around with some stutter functions. And we can go through the filter. Going through the filter. So I could actually probably do this all day long. What I'm gonna try to do here is eventually get each one of these pads triggered to different sound effects. One, because it's kind of fun. And I can preload the effects to add some layers onto what we're doing here. Hey guys, I am recording this after this episode was recorded and before it was released, obviously. I wanted to just apologize for anyone who had a hard time downloading last week's episode and give a great sense of gratitude and thank you to a couple listeners who let me know that they were having a hard time downloading it. At first, I thought it was just Stitcher, and then I got someone that told me that they couldn't get it from iTunes. And usually on Monday morning when I wake up, I check iTunes to make sure that it's on there, and it was on there, but the file did not upload properly. So if you had this problem, I'm sorry. And if you are still having a hard time downloading it through iTunes, what I would recommend is delete the file that's been downloaded and then re-download it. So I'm sorry about that. I know that could be frustrating. It was frustrating for me too, because I was about to go to bed when I found out, and I can't go to bed with something like that hanging on my over my head. So I did get that fixed. I'm not exactly sure what happened, but I did learn that I have to double check my file and play it through Libsyn, which is my media host. So we continue to learn what we're doing here. And thank you guys, because if it weren't for you, I probably would have not known that the file was did not upload correctly. So anytime that something is funky like that, please shoot me an email. I had someone last week shoot me an email letting me know that they were prompted for a password on my website for the show notes, because I usually create the show notes page and then I will unpassword protect it often the Friday before I release. So if you're really anxious to hear the latest episode, I often will have it on my website available Friday evening, and you can listen to it on my website or download it from SoundCloud. It's just an easier way to share the file. All right, well, I'm getting my kicks playing with this stuff, but I don't think this is why you tuned in. You know this is fun. Well, at least it is for me.
What up? What up?
Yes, this is ADHD Rewired. All right. I just can't stop pushing buttons. What's this do? What's that do? Ooh, another shiny button. Sorry. All right, I'm done. Really? Okay, how do I stop it? All right, that's enough of that. I got a new toy. I haven't actually planned anything for this episode. I've been feeling kind of under the weather this week, and I really want to get you some content. So I'm going to wing it, and I'm going to see what I come up with. I had a few emails this week and last week from some listeners that wanted to know some strategies for staying focused while doing their work. So here's some strategies I'm going to share with you guys that hopefully will help. Here's my first idea. When I'm doing work, especially work that's on the computer, one of the things that I do is I will put a sticky note on my screen, basically. I mean, not in the middle of the screen, so it's not blocking anything, but I will put the note in telling me specifically what my intentions are for this task. So, for example, right now I have a sticky note that I left on my monitor that says email. Answering emails is one of those things that you have to do really every day if you want to stay on top of it. But sometimes when you're answering email, you need to reference other materials at different spots on your computer. The problem with that is not getting sidetracked by everything. So I do two things. I use a timer, and I've been using the Pomodoro timer that is on the iPhone. It's just called Pomodoro. Maybe I'll go into that a bit in a moment. So the Pomodoro timer is this 25-minute timer. So I have that set up kind of propped, leaning up against my monitor. And next to that is the task that I'm working on. So Pomodoro is a really good technique that allows you to chunk down things in 25-minute periods with short breaks in between tasks. So whatever your intended task is during that 25-minute period, you really want to try to have a very intentional focus. You can do one thing and only that one thing during that 25-minute period, and then you take a break. Now, I know that breaks can be hard, especially when you have ADHD, because it requires attention shifting. So you have to stop what you're doing and then go on to something else. It requires working memory. You have to hold on to what you were doing and hope that you'll be able to remember what you were doing, so when you come back to it, you're able to pick up where you left off. So a couple of things that I have found help me when I'm doing this, because, when we get into hyperfocus, it mentally exhausts us. So even though we got into a groove, it's going to have a paradoxical effect if we don't take breaks. So we'll end up being more drained later on. So even when you're feeling like you're in that good groove, you really want to try to take breaks. Short breaks, and they can still be productive breaks where you're doing something else, just something that's different from the task that you're working on. But for that break, make sure you set a timer. I just lost my train of thought. The gaps that you hear are a lot shorter than what is being recorded, because there are times where I lose my train of thought and don't get it back for a good minute, and I'm not going to make you sit through that while I am thinking. I actually just had to go back and listen to what I just said because I couldn't remember what train of thought I was having. So now that I think I remembered, oh crap, I forgot again. This is why it's probably best to plan. You know what? I'm just not feeling that well, but I still want to try to give you some strategies that will be helpful for you, because I know that you guys have been telling me that this show's been really helpful for you, and that makes me feel awesome. So as long as it's making me feel awesome, I will do it. No, I'm just kind of messing around. Okay. There are days when you're on your A game. There are weeks when you're on your A game. This is neither one of those days or weeks. So here is one of my many public displays of imperfection. I remember. Write down when you're taking that break, right before you were about to finish that 25-minute focused period, write down the last thing that you just did and the next thing you are planning on doing. What I have found is that cue to myself, it's like the crumbs that I'm leaving for myself so I know where I left off, tends to be really helpful. And maybe the automatic thought is that's a lot of extra work, but it's actually really not. It takes maybe 30 seconds to do. And it's actually good for the brain to kind of review and summarize what you were doing. It helps create clarity and focus. It helps you stay focused on what it is that you're actually wanting to do. You know, if we don't take breaks, there's this good tendency for us to go down this long rabbit hole when we think we're being productive. And then until we pull back and take some perspective, we don't recognize that, oh, that was a direction that I actually didn't really want to go down, or that didn't really work what I was trying to achieve. So leave yourself the intended goal of what you were going to do next and what you just did. And then with the Pomodoro technique is you try to have these 4 periods of time. And I know I've mentioned this before, but I know that repetition is helpful for ADHD. That's just my excuse for not remembering what I told you. So what you want to do is you set up these 4 chunks of 25 minutes, and then you take a 5-minute break after each chunk. And then after those 4 25-minute periods, then what you do is you take a longer break. And it could be 25 minutes. It could be a little shorter, a little longer. I think the rule based on the Pomodoro method is 25 minutes for that longer break. Now, for me, on a really, really good day, I can get through 6 Pomodoros consecutively, including that little bit longer break. And then after that, I find it really difficult to keep going without getting into my hyperfocus. So when I get to 6, I consider that a really good day. And I keep trying, but it seems for me like at that point, my brain just has a harder time shifting. So the use of timers, both right in front of you and put one further away when you have to stop. So it's not easy to snooze. You know, if the snooze button is right there and you have a tendency to push it, don't have it be right there. Put it on the other side of the room. So I'm going to share with you another tool that I just started using, and that's called Rescue Time. Rescue Time is a tool that works in the background of your computer and will tell you exactly how much time you are spending on different things. And there is a free version and a premium version. Currently, I'm using the free version, and it's cool because it gives you, as you're going through it, it will show you all the things you're doing both online and just on your computer. It will tell you how much time you're spending on those things, and it will allow you to categorize each thing as productive time or unproductive time in a rating scale. So it's between very productive to very distracting. So I've been using that for about a week, and it's interesting. It's giving me some insights. I don't think I've used it fully yet to its capacity, but I know one of the things that you can do with a premium version is you can set goals and alerts if you are doing something longer than what you want to be doing. So being intentional about what we're trying to focus on, I think often requires taking data and getting feedback, because we're really bad judges of how we think we're doing. We need ways to measure how we're actually doing. So some other things that are coming to my mind about staying focused is know what types of things distract you. For me, I get extraordinarily distracted by other people talking. So I'm not going to do something that requires me thinking in language when I can hear other people talking. So, you know, if I'm painting something, well, I don't really paint, or if I'm doing something that doesn't really require me to think. Excuse me, let me grab some water. You know, the good news is, even though I don't sound great right now, you're not going to catch it. What the hell was I saying? Oh, auditory distractions. So I am very distracted by auditory information in my environment. As a musician, that sort of can be a good thing because I'm hearing everything and that allows me to hear the nuances of different sounds. But when I'm in conversation, that's annoying because I hear everything and then I process nothing. So know what the things that distract you are. Kind of same thing visually too. If I see things in my visual field, I have a tendency to look towards it. It's the shiny object syndrome. So some ways that you can deal with this are, if you have the auditory distractions, is earplugs, sound masks. If you work in a cubicle, well, first of all, I'm sorry that you work in a cubicle because I could never, ever do that. I sort of did a few jobs ago and I talked about it on a previous podcast, and it was just nearly impossible to get work done. So I'm sending you my condolences if you are having to work in a cubicle. If you do, though, find out if there's time that you can work in a quiet area, if that's a possibility. If not, try to use earplugs or other things that might drown out some of the sound. And you might need to talk to your boss or your coworkers and just share with them that you're trying to focus and you're easily distracted. So if they need your attention, that they need to, wave their hands in front of you if you can't hear them. So that's some tips for auditory distractions. If you work at home or an office that you get interruptions, you have to communicate with others to not interrupt you. That could be having conversations with people. That could be putting notes on the outside of your door to let people know what you're doing and that you're asking to not be disturbed. If it is visual distractions, do simple math. What can you do to subtract the amount of visual distractions that's in front of you? You could do things like setting up, remember those, science fair trifold boards? Set up one of those around your desk and then you can block out all visual distraction. Another thing you can do if you're working at a desk and maybe you're not at a computer is in front of you, put a mirror in front of you, because once you look up, you're going to realize you're not paying attention. And then you might start making faces in front of the mirror and then wondering how mirrors actually work. And yes, these are thoughts that I have. So, try different things. Notice what the distractions are. If the distractions are your own internal thoughts, one of the things you can do is use a parking lot. And a parking lot is basically have a small pad of sticky notes near you. And if there is an idea that pops into your mind that you don't want to lose, take a sticky note, write a word or two down that will trigger your memory, then put it to the side and then get back focused on what you're doing. Over time, when you do this, your brain will start to learn to not send you so many of these types of thoughts because you're not attending to them. You're taking a really fast action, but then getting back to what you're working on. This is one of the reasons I think scheduling is so important. If you have your guide of your schedule, that could be used as your reference to see if you're doing what you want to be doing. If you're distracted when you're reading, I talked about on the first episode when I was describing my ADHD, when I was describing reading, where I would read something and then have a thought about something else that was triggered by what I read. That thought would trigger another thought, and that thought would trigger another thought. Now, I would still be reading and not stopping to realize that I'm not actually processing what I'm reading. So what I've learned to do is take notes while I'm reading. So it's called active reading. If you're reading something that you can write in the margins, I would write a word or two about what you just read. And this is just something to actively keep you engaged while you're writing or reading. Let's see, what else comes to mind? If you have to read and something's available in audio format, try that out. You're listening to this, so I suggest that you might like to listen to things to learn. So that's also a possibility. I also know that there are some people that work well doing certain types of tasks and certain types of distracting environments. Now, it all comes down to know yourself. So I'm trying to think of another thing that would help with distraction, and the idea is right in front of me. It's declutter your desk. Yes, this would decrease my distractions if I decluttered my desk. One day, I'll have a full-time administrative helper that will go through my papers every single day. Until then, I do my best, and I have my wife come and help me sometimes at my office to just go through paperwork, because I do have an allergy to it. I do break out in piles and procrastination. So know what your distractions are. Also, turn your ringers off, turn your notifications off, the things that grab your attention. Stop them from grabbing your attention. You don't need to have your phone on. If you get a call, there's this thing called voicemail. And use it. Use voicemail. What else? So I'm doing good here. I have no notes. I'm just winging it because I want to get you something. Maybe this will be the show that I send over to a virtual assistant, tell them to edit it and piece it all together. And we'll see. If I do that, I'll make sure to add that to the end of the episode so you know. I've been continuing to get emails from people who are wanting to become part of the coaching group. Continue to send me the emails. I'm continuing to work on how it's all going to look. I will say this too. I've gotten some emails from people who what they're looking for does sound a little bit more like they're looking for therapy. And I haven't responded to a lot of the emails. I have been getting them, just so you know. And when I have more information to announce, I will absolutely announce it to you. If you're working on emotional content, that's going to be more therapy related work. This coaching and accountability group is going to be about tasks. It's going to be about project management, task management, family management, prioritizing, using a calendar. So those kinds of things. So if you need other clarification in that, you can shoot me an email. Maybe in an upcoming episode, I'll talk about the differences between coaching and therapy. Now it is time for the tech tip of the week. Today's tech tip of the week is an app called AutoSilent. This is the app that really should have came with your iPhone. AutoSilent is going to help you eliminate pesky distractions, Facebook notifications, texts, tweets, emails, phone calls. So here's what AutoSilent does. AutoSilent reads your calendar, and you can choose, if you have a lot of calendars, which calendar it reads from. And you can decide which calendars should your phone become silent on. So this is great. So you can... Did I do this one already? As I'm doing this, I'm wondering if I actually gave this recommendation. Well, if you haven't downloaded it yet, here's your second chance. You can choose from your calendars. You can choose from locations. You can use a timer. So there's a number of different ways that you can auto silence your phone. This is something that I don't understand why it's not kind of an onboard function with all smartphones. It just makes sense. That is AutoSilent, and I will put a link to it in the show notes. So I said earlier in the show that I would let you know if I outsourced any editing of my show to Fiverr, and I did. I used this strategy and followed through. I thought that for the most part it was pretty good. There was one part that was edited out that I actually put back in because I thought it was making me look too, put together, and I wanted to really make sure you knew how I was really doing this week. So he really paid attention to detail. I think that it's something that I will use again. So I do say on the outro something about this is not one of my best shows. Well, with with $10 and some editing, I was able to make the show sound a lot better than what it actually was. So stay tuned to next week. If you liked this episode, I think you'll really like next episode. Because, well, just stay tuned. You'll see. Well, podcast listeners, you have just listened to another episode of ADHD Rewired. I'm going to go home and get some rest. So next week, I can get you a really good show that I planned and delivered on. I'll do it. You'll see. Because I threw that out there, and now I'm going to live up to it. Because I do really well when I have accountability. Speaking of accountability, the group that I've been talking about, we're getting closer. I'm still probably a few weeks away from launching, but it's not too late to throw your hat in the ring. Is that the expression? Throw your hat in the ring? Let me know you're interested. Send me an email through my website, ADHDrewired.com. Thank you for all your reviews, and if you have a moment, please send me a review, although maybe this week isn't the best week to ask for one. But seriously, guys, you guys have been really, really supportive. The Facebook community is growing. If you haven't registered for the ADA conference, you can do so by using my affiliate link. That's adda.adhdrewired.com. Don't use the www because it won't work. Next week, I'll also try to get some more listener emails. And, on the very first show, I ended with the quote, "Always do your best, and your best will be different every day." I think that would be a good quote for me to end on today. Until next time.